Okay, I get a lot of questions, why do you have Fisetin? Why are you eating Fisetin? And what does this have to do with the protocol? Well, that's because it's a protocol. I mean, dry fasting is great. Dry fasting does a lot. But this protocol adds a couple of things like Fisetin and things to stimulate your stem cells in the bone marrow and things to protect your mitochondria because it works a lot better when you do these things. The idea here with the Phoenix protocol is to reverse aging, is to actually get younger. The idea is to reverse these effects of aging by reversing specific issues, one of which is senescent cells. 5% up to 20% of the cells in certain organs as you age are full of senescent cells. And senescent cells are really, really terrible because they don't die. They just accumulate. They don't operate correctly. They start running off of sugars. You're not getting oxidative phosphorylation by burning off free fatty acids in the mitochondria. And it's only a matter of time before these bad apples destroy all the apples in the barrel. And you're a barrel of apples, and there's a lot of bad apples forming all the time. And Fisetin gets rid of it. Now, Fisetin's pretty interesting. So let's take a little look at this here cartoon, and you can see that there are 3 different ways for Fisetin to get into cells. Fisetin can pass right through the cell membrane and do it a couple of different ways. It can stop the cell cycle, leading to apoptosis. It can go into an intrinsic pathway, which activates all these capase molecules that are designed to start the initiation of apoptosis or cell death. And it also activates autophagy, which you can see here on the left of the picture. Activates the creation of autophagosomes, where it affects AKT and stops the signaling pathway for mTOR. And it activates a molecule that stimulates the creation of the phagophore, which will become an autophagosome, and sequestration of these toxic chemicals added to a lysosome. It dissolves up and activates autophagy. The other way is through its ability to enter the cell and interrupt the membrane of the mitochondria, which releases the cytochrome C, which once in the cytosol stimulates the creation of the apoptosome, which then starts killing the cell. So what you're trying to do with the Fisetin is you're trying to kill senescent cells. Autophagy, or the dry fasting part of this equation, is acinomorphic, so it tends to fix cells. Autophagy fixes lysosomes and mitochondria, causes mitochondrial biogenesis and all that good stuff. So the dry fasting is doing one thing. It's stimulating an aggressive type of autophagy that allows the body to really get rid of all the garbage and all the toxins and a lot of senescent cells as well. Fisetin in particular, in the mice study, Restore Youth in mice, has prevented aging in mice. It's very important to get rid of these cells because they start pumping out these chemicals, these toxic chemicals that damage adjacent cells, causing more senescent cells, so-called SASP, specifically pro-inflammatory and matrix modifying peptides. Pro-aging effects of senescent cells are aggravated by SASP and possibly other paracrine mediators, which can propagate senescence from cell to cell as a bystander effect. One bad apple destroys the whole bunch. In recent years, evidence has been mounting that senescent cells impact their environment via yet another principal pathway, mitochondrial dysfunction. So the idea with Fisetin is to get into your body at a proper dosage level. You've got to take a therapeutic dose to have a therapeutic effect. Like I said, senescent cells accumulate with age in a wide variety of tissues. Frequency in excess of 5% and sometimes as much as 20% and more. More importantly, interventions that selectively ablate senescent cells by genetic or pharmacological means may improve health span and lifespan. And that's why we take the Fisetin, to improve health span and to improve lifespan. Mechanistically, the age-promoting effects of senescence are associated with the restriction of regenerative capacity of stem and progenitor cells. That's because stem cells can become senescent as well if you don't replace them, if you don't regenerate them, and if you don't feed them properly. They'll suffer the same problem as normal cells do with senescence, and you'll have stem cell senescence, which is really a bad idea. And this, one of the reasons senescent cells go senescent is because the mitochondria stop working. One of the reasons mitochondria stop working is because the mitochondria are never replaced. Autophagy is when mitochondria are replaced, repaired, and restored to functionality. This is where the dry fasting comes in. Dry fasting is the xenomorph. Fisetin is the SEnolytic. You got to get rid of them, or you got to help them. You got to make sure that you keep your mitochondria working well, which is what the polyphenol plus is all about. It's specifically for helping your mitochondria deal with reaction oxygen species, ROS. So the reason we're really eating the Fisetin is to become younger, to prevent senescent cells from causing aging and inflammation and all the problems associated with it. So this is why we use Fisetin. I take 500 milligrams a day. That prevents senescent cells to some degree. But I go through these regimes that I'm testing. It's called the hit and run scenario, where you hit it real hard for a few days. In the studies, it turns out that they do this probably for this reason, is that once you get rid of all these senescent cells and you hit it hard and you kill all these cells off, you've got to be able to give the body time to clear them out. The Alzheimer effect of all these toxins in the system. My studies, they did it from a couple of weeks, heavy doses, and then a month, 4 weeks, were no doses. So that's the reason we eat Fisetin. Fisetin is one of these magical senolytics that helps you get rid of senescent cells. I mean, you can eat 7 pounds of strawberries a day and get a 500 milligram dose, but can you eat 21 pounds of strawberries to get a real therapeutic dose? So my advice is take some Fisetin.